Number 10. Vampire Batman. We'll start on a Twilight note here, okay? Bruce Wayne of Earth 43 appeared in the 1992 Batman and Dracula Red Rain story written by Doug Munch with pencils by Kelly Jones. So after a group of victims met their fate in the same way with their, throats slashed and not looking great, Batman realized that he's got vampires to now deal with. Vampires led, of course, by the one and only Dracula. So Batman really goes the extra mile to get the job done here because he meets a rogue vampire named Tanya and opts to get bit. He's like, right here please, thank you. He turns himself into a vampire in order to fight Dracula. Awesome, sold. Debit, thank you. Okay, so now Batman lures these rogue vampires into the Batcave, detonates an explosion, completely dusting Wayne Manor, so now all this sunlight hits the bloodsuckers, poof, they perish, and Batman used his new wings, his actual bat wings, and then flew to fight Dracula. Bat Bruce won the fight by impaling Dracula on a broken electrical pole. Bruce wasn't looking good also. He lost a lot of blood, so he actually died, but the Batman will live forever as now a vampire, so that's good. That's a positive ending, I think. Number 9. The Batman Who Laughs. Coming from the Dark Multiverse, first appearing in Dark Days The Casting, created by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, comes a twisted Earth 22 version of Batman, the Batman Who Laughs. Sounds like a good time, it's actually a nightmare. The Joker here is cruel. He goes on a spree throughout Gotham, just chaos, pure chaos. He took out Jim Gordon, and then he poisoned Batman. So once Batman was able to move his body again post-poison problem, he broke the Joker's neck. But even so, the Joker was prepared for this. After the snap, he let this toxin out that infected anybody near him. So Batman now got infected. Cut to 2 days later, Batman and Superman are talking about what just happened. Then when Superman tells Bruce that a kid infected by Joker venom bit a doctor, Bruce Wayne laughs. He lets out a little laugh, but he catches himself after, and even Superman is thrown off. He's like, okay, something's not right here. So a day later, Bruce called the team to the Batcave, and he went full Omni-Man. He took out the entire team before anybody really caught on to this new personality. Weird and evil. This list is dark already. Number 8. Time Stream Batman. Batman: The Return of Bruce Wayne is a 6-parter written by Grant Morrison, released in 2010, and we pick up from Final Crisis issue 6 when Darkseid shot Bruce into the past. He travels throughout history, these fun crazy eras, until eventually he's back to present day Gotham City. Now the series is 6 issues, so we get 6 different types of Batman. This is like a 6 in 1 point. It's pretty juicy. So issue 1 gives us a caveman style Bruce Wayne. He meets an immortal caveman as well who becomes Vandal Savage. Issue 2, Bruce has to deal with witches. Okay. Issue 3, Batman is front and center in the high seas. Pirate Batman going head to head, of course, with Pirate Blackbeard. Enough said. Issue 4, we move to the Wild Wild West, where Bruce is a talented gunfighter, yet still he doesn't like guns and chooses not to kill. Vandal Savage returns here, but this time with the help of one Jonah Hex. Lovely. Issue 5, we find Bruce in what appears to be the 1930s, right after his parents actually died. So Bruce is taken to the hospital to recover from a gunshot from the previous Tale Out of Time, and that's when he meets a woman named Marcia. Marcia believed that Thomas Wayne actually killed his wife and then faked his own death. She was a friend of Martha, so she was trying to get some peace of mind, trying to get to the bottom of this. So Bruce followed her to a graveyard without her knowing, and then that's when we find out she's actually a member of the Black Glove organization, and she intended on sacrificing Bruce to Barbados. She wanted immortality all along. Don't we all? Issue 6 ties everything together nicely, so if you haven't read it yet and this is piquing your interest, go check it out for yourself. Finish it off. It's a good time. And if you're enjoying this list as well so far, don't forget to share the love and hit that thumbs up. You guys rock. Thank you so much. Now back to some weird Batman alternates. Number 7. Clone Batman. When Darkseid created a clone of Batman, he used it to make the world believe that Batman had died, when in reality, Darkseid actually sent Bruce back in time with his Omega beams. That's a pretty impressive trick already, but things go up a notch when that clone is revived as a Black Lantern and seeks out our remaining alive heroes. His job was to attach other rings to other heroes who have been resurrected before, but after he was done, he went back to get some beauty death sleep. In Batman and Robin issue 8, that Batman is revived using the Lazarus Pit, where he instantly attacks Dick Grayson, Batwoman. I mean, he's just going nuts at this point. He was strong too, he was really strong. The next issue, the clone took off after King Cole triggered an explosion, and then he took off and headed for Wayne Manor, where he then fought Alfred and Damian Wayne. Just going for blood right off the bat. Pun intended. Damian was tossed off the roof by crazy Batsy, but thankfully Dick got him just in time. And in issue 9, the clone lost to Batwoman and Dick. good ending-ish. Number 6, The Doom That Came to Gotham. Written by Mike Magnolia and Richard Pace, Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham is a 3-part Elseworld story where Batman's primary target is that of Lovecraftian monsters. Batman is in this 1920s era. He's rocking a Glock on the front cover. It's gritty, but the threat levels are cosmic. It's a fantastic blend. It's 1928. Bruce has returned home to Gotham a whole 2 decades later after his parents were killed. And he finds the city under attack from all these supernatural forces. It's wild. The way Batman handles these cosmic powerhouses, it's a ride. Even other players in the story are wild too, like Harvey Dent for example. His body started to deform after Poison Ivy touched him, and he was also chosen by Ra's al Ghul to be the living portal to Sotha's realm. Just goo into a wall of, yeah, it's just yuck. Number 5. Bat Joker. This version of Batman came to life in the New 52 Futures End storyline, also known as the Joker Borg. Remember the mayor of Halloween Town and Nightmare Before Christmas? This Bat Joker is kind of like that guy. He's got business in the front and then villain in the back. So Batman created a time-traveling device and sent Terry McGinnis, who I'll explain later on, into the past to prevent Brother Eye from being built by himself and Mr. Terrific. Batman was injured at this time, so Frankenstein took him, as well as the Joker, and then did some fun operation where the two became one cyborg. Batman's brain was literally picked apart here in order to find out where Terry McGinnis had been sent to, and then the Bat Joker was sent back in time as well to stop Terry. Bat Joker was heavily equipped though. He was loaded with super strength, so much so that this Bat Joker was amongst the strongest of the cyborgs of the end future. Number 4, Terry McGinnis. Of course we have to mention him now in case you're wondering, wait, who's this guy again? The year is 2039. Bruce Wayne had retired, but Project Cadmus director Amanda Waller was looking for a replacement for Batman, beginning with Project Batman Beyond. A major key element here was using the original Batman's blood samples left over after his fights and mix it in with some nanotech. Now we have the DNA, we just need a family to raise the kid. Amanda found the McGinnis household with Warren and Mary a perfect fit, as they were both psychologically identical to Thomas and Martha Wayne. One flu shot later, they were about to be the new parents of a new Batman. But obviously in Batman fashion, during Terry's teenage years, his father got killed, and Terry believed it was all because of the corrupt CEO, Derek Powers. So he asked for the help of the other guy part of this merger, that guy being Bruce Wayne. He didn't know anything at this point, but after a confrontation against the Joker's gang, Terry realized, oh, Bruce is the OG Batman. So Terry stole all his stuff and suited up himself as the new Batman Beyond. What an origin story. So sick. We had to include him in this list. Not so much weird. I mean, besides the whole, flu shot, now I'm alive thing. Guess we can make that weird and include it. Number 3, Owlman. Coming from Earth 3, making his first appearance in Justice League Volume 2, Issue 23, Owlman is actually not Bruce Wayne, but rather Bruce's older brother, Thomas Wayne Jr. See, instead of their parents getting shot, Thomas Wayne Jr. actually believed that they were doing such a poor job of managing their money, so he got Alfred to do it for them. He got Alfred to kill his parents, and then when young Bruce Wayne was trying to stop this horrible plan from happening, Thomas Wayne Jr. took out his own brother. He saw this as a sign of weakness. What a psycho. So with the family's wealth now, he became Owlman. As a Cape Crusader, Thomas was he was the worst. I mean, the guy didn't mind using deadly force, for one, he actually preferred it. And what's a hero without a sidekick? This world's Dick Grayson tagged along and joined him, but that was after Owlman himself killed Dick's family. So a little bit of a twisted origin there too. And of course, there was also an evil super team, the Crime Syndicate. Number 2, Azreel. So right after the 1993 Nightfall storyline when Batman got wrecked by Bane, his back was broken, but he decided to pass on the Batman mantle to not Dick Grayson, but instead Jean-Paul Valley, aka Azreel, aka Azbat. I'm gonna say this is a weird version of Batman because he's a little crazy. This run as Batman wasn't the same at all. His methods were violent, messy, and irresponsible. He was capable of defeating Bane with his new suit and stuff, so he did do a good job. He was a formidable successor in that sense, but definitely not permanent. Once Bruce did recover, he had to force Azbat to leave the position. Even the style changes were quite drastic and honestly kind of ugly. Dare I say it was kind of ugly. He has the blue and yellow armor, the claws, the dual mag weapons. It's cool, but it's nothing like the Cape Crusader we know and love. He's kind of like a Decepticon. I'm like, I don't really like a Hot Wheels Decepticon looking guy. Number 1, the God of knowledge. Weird, magical, wonderful, question mark? I'm not even sure what to call this one, but it's quite entertaining to say the least. The Mobius chair is the lazy boy of the galaxy. It made its first appearance in New Gods issue 1, and the chair was created by the Anti-Monitor. He gave the chair to Metron, but at one point Batman saw an opportunity of a lifetime. The chair was unused for a hot second, so Batman, king of musical chairs and problem solving, jumped on it and in turn became the god of all knowledge. How wonderful. At this point, the stakes are high. This couldn't have happened at a better time, honestly. The whole team was busy fighting Darkseid. Meanwhile, Batman's just floating in a chair in the background, figuring out the secrets of the universe, just trying not to throw up, trying to process all of this power. And that's when the Green Lantern adds a little bit of fun to this mix and tosses over his power ring. Just something to help Bruce get a grip. He puts it on Bruce's finger, power lights up the place, and he gets off the chair with a glowing lantern on his chest, right in the middle of the bat symbol. How crazy is that?
Number 10. Secret Agent Matt. What if Daredevil never became Daredevil at all, but instead Matt Murdock became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? That's the story told in this What If issue we get from Volume 1 of the series in issue 28. Here we get to see an alternate reality where Daredevil never even became Daredevil. Tony Stark happened to be the one responsible for the accident that blinded young Matt, as it was his truck filled with toxic chemicals that was driving through the city when Matt had his fateful accident. When he learned of what happened, he decided to turn over Matt to S.H.I.E.L.D., hoping that they could help him. Nick Fury saw great potential in Matt Murdock and trained him to become a secret agent for S.H.I.E.L.D. Matt goes on a mission to rescue his dad, who is kidnapped by Hydra, and in the end joins up with the S.H.I.E.L.D. team. Number 9. House of M. Although Daredevil wasn't one of the main players in the House of M storyline, an alternate reality created by Scarlet Witch, he still existed in this reality. Here, Matt Murdock was still a lawyer and was even lucky enough to tangle with She-Hulk. Despite the fact that he and She-Hulk are both lawyers, they don't really team up a lot in the main continuity, nor are they a couple. But in House of M issue number 3, we learn of a rumor floating around the Jade Giantess She-Hulk that she has the hots for Matt, and that both lawyers have been seen canoodling in and around the courthouse. What a scandal. And friends, before I move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more good Top 10 Nerd content, you need to check out our newest channel, Top 10 Nerd Elite. Go on over there, hit that subscribe, go to a video and type a little comment and be like, hey Amanda, I'm here, I did it. Number 8. Dare the Terminator. Dare the Terminator comes to us from the Amalgam Universe and is a combined version of both Marvel's Daredevil and DC's Deathstroke the Terminator. A strange but cool fact about Dare is that she's a woman, despite the fact that both the characters that were amalgamated together to create her in this universe are male. Dare, however, also received her name from the fact that she is a fearless Daredevil who few dare to challenge. She had horns surgically grafted onto her head by enemy the Big Question, aka Enigma Fisk, and she is also missing an eye. Kinda got like, of course she's an Amalgam character, so she's got a little bit of both things going on there.
Number 7. Darkclaw. Coming from the Amalgam Universe where DC and Marvel combine powers, figuratively and literally, we get a Wolverine Batman double feature. First appearing in Legends of the Darkclaw issue 1 back in 1996, at just age 5, young Logan Wayne witnessed the death of his parents. So we have that Batman origin story sprinkled in to lay the foundation. Good stuff, promising stuff right there. And then Logan Wayne was then sent to live with his uncle in Canada, but after poachers ambushed his home, we have even more family members biting the bullet. So far, so sad. Afterwards, Logan Wayne enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force and soon after the Weapon X program. That's where the Wolverine origins really start to come in. Logan Wayne got the adamantium treatment, but it was deemed a failure in a way because Logan wasn't a mindless brute, he kept his sanity. So now we're starting to get a little bit more positive. This is good, right on. Afterwards, he was a free man. He studied criminology, forensics, martial arts, gymnastics, and all 127 major styles of combat. That mixed with the claws, good game, dude. Good game. Number 6. Zaro. Making his first full appearance in Superman Batman issue 20, the world's worst detective and just a straight up villain, Zaro is the opposite of Batman. Morals, speech, combat, body weight, everything is opposite. So when you have a superhero like Batman who doesn't kill, tries to save the day, and solves crimes, the opposite is bound to be pretty brutal. Zaro had not one, but 2 pistols that he loved shooting around, and a chain, of course, to whack people with. and he had an upside down bat symbol to remind folks who's who. You know, in case the grinning sharp teeth wasn't enough. He idolizes Bruce Wayne though, funny enough. It's pretty weird because the origins of Zaro go way back to the Joker. See, Joker created Zaro simply because he wanted to officially kill a Batman. But when plans went south, Joker tried to fire a bullet into the Batman and Zaro jumped in the way, sacrificing his life for Batman's. Is this tragic? Yes. Is it a weird one? Absolutely. Number 5. Red Death. Coming from the dark multiverse on Earth 52, Dark Days the casting, issue 1, we meet a Bruce Wayne with the same origins that we're used to. Now he eventually became a hero, yada yada yada, and he fought alongside Robin, and then the next Robin, and then the next Robin. His life was taking a harder toll on him. He was watching all these sidekicks bite the bullet, so now he was desperate to find a new power, a new way to prevent his partners from maybe, I don't know, dying. So he looked at his world's Flash, and he saw his super speed and thought to himself, you know what? I could use that speed force better than him. What a statement right there. So he took out every Flash villain himself, kept their advanced weapons, and then used those weapons to fight the Flash. He drove them both into the Speed Force with the Batmobile and the Cosmic Treadmill, and then he absorbed all of Barry's super speed. Now after Batman came back from said Speed Force trip, he referred to himself as Batman the Red Death, where he would then brutally kill Gotham's criminals in the blink of an eye. But here's the kicker, here's the bad part. Gets worse rather. Barry still lived inside his mind. He would beg Batman, Red Death, to stop the killing. Imagine hearing somebody in your head. I mean, that alone is a nightmare. Number 4, Civil War Batman. Batman teaming up with Abe Lincoln. Yep, let's go. Batman the Blue, the Gray, and the Bat was released in 1993 from Elliot S. Maggin and Alan Weiss. When you need to protect the government's massive stash o' gold, who else do you call but the Caped Crusader and his horse appropriately named Apocalypse? This is a fun story because this era is just too wild to be boring, but in this Elseworld story, Abe Lincoln knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. But it's Abe Lincoln, he can keep a secret or 2 or 3. Bruce had a bat fly in his window the night Abe's messenger arrived, so he took it as a sign and made an epic old-timey batsuit. He's accompanied by Robin, but in here he's named Redbird, and then we find out that old-timey Bruce is actually behind the whole operation this entire time. You lied to Abe Lincoln for gold? Shame. Shame. You're already rich in some universes. You don't need gold. Or maybe he's rich because he stole that gold. Number 3, Bat Baby. Making his first steps in Batman issue 147, the 600th time Batman appeared in comics, we see Bruce Wayne as a baby. So after Nails Finney and his gang made a shrink ray, they set their sights on Batman and it worked like a charm. It was only a shrink ray though. He didn't de-age mentally, which is even better almost. So now he had the same strength and aggression as a full-grown man in a toddler's body. This sounds like the worst case scenario, but Batman was kind of okay with it. He worked with what he got. He's like, okay, if people are gonna treat me as a baby, I'm just gonna dress like a baby. And then he wore a bat suit that no baby has ever worn ever. Classic Batman. Number 2, Holy Batman. Batman Holy Terror was an Elseworlds one-shot released in 1991, written by Alan Brennert. We find Reverend Bruce Wayne. How holy and fun is this? It's 1658, and in this universe, Lord Oliver Cromwell recovered from that fever and he maintained his hold on England. Later in the 20th century, Thomas Wayne, physician to ye old Gotham Town's council, was killed, same with his wife. Now James Gordon is on the case trying to get to the bottom of it, but he believes this was more than just a mugging. So he befriended young Bruce Wayne to maybe try and find some more info. Cut to 20 years later, Gordon is now Gotham Town's High Inquisitor, and Bruce is about to become a priest, and that's when Gordon finally tells Bruce the truth about his parents. He reveals that a man named Joseph Chill was behind the whole thing. The government took down one of their own. How peculiar. Priest in the sheets and bat freak in the streets. That's how we like it. And finally, coming in at number 1, The Bat. Batman Castle of the Bat was released in 1994, written by Jack C. Harris with pencils by Bo Hampton. We're really leaning into the literal bat theme on this list. I kinda love it, not gonna lie. Taking place in South Germany 1819, we get a scene similar to that in The Dark Knight. A masked highwayman robs a carriage. The passenger asks the man if he's ever heard tales of the demon who protects the land, and the highwayman scoffs, says, "Oh, that's just superstitious, I don't believe in that," and then a bat monster comes in and rips his head off. Dr. Bruce Wayne hears about this attack, and at his home, his castle rather, he tells his hunchback servant Alfredo, that the beast had attacked once again. What beast? What is he talking about? So when Bruce was a kid, his parents were killed in a carriage on a road. So Bruce and Alfredo found Thomas Wayne's brain, collected some body parts, added some electricity, and voila, now Thomas Wayne is back. And he looks like shit. Once bat fluid is added, he becomes a living nightmare of a monster, and his first plan was of course to get revenge on the same guy who killed him decades earlier. We saved the weirdest for last, that's for sure. Number 10, Dogpool. We'll start off on a cute note, rather. Wade Wilson of Earth 103173, aka Dogpool, made his first appearance in Prelude to Deadpool Core, Issue 3. Wilson was a dog being used as a test subject for Mascara X. Now, I love this version because it brings to light the animal testing for beauty products that happens, Mascara X taking place of the evil Weapon X in this story. So after the test went south, they thought the dog didn't survive. His body turned all corpse-like, it wasn't breathing, horrible stuff, so they got rid of it. But those healing abilities brought him back to life. He then broke out of the garbage bag and started walking around again. I thought cats were the only ones with 9 lives. What a sight to see. Now, these circus performers did see this. They were driving by and just happened to see this dead dog come back to life, so they used it to make some moolah. He became the main act of their circus, appropriately named the Death-Defying Hound. He was a circus performer until Wade Wilson, the main continuity Deadpool, showed up and then recruited him for the Deadpool Corps. The good boy met his fate in issue 1 of Deadpool Kills Deadpool, but he did so saving Wade, so it's a happier kind of note. Not really, but we'll say it is. Number 9, War. Earth 16558, our Deadpool gets an extreme makeover superpowers edition. He shows up in Extraordinary X-Men issue 8 and we only get to enjoy his presence for 5 issues. After Apocalypse returns in the early 21st century, he recruits Deadpool as one of his 4 horsemen. He recruits him for war. Deadpool and the other horsemen attacked Colossus, got him on the God Squad, and then together the evil team tracked down Storm and their young X-Men. In Extraordinary X-Men issue 10, the X-Men were actually defeated and the Ark, containing 600 mutant embryos, were taken back to Apocalypse. Things weren't looking that great with Wade on the bad side. When the X-Men invaded Apocalypse's kingdom to try and save the day, Deadpool fought back and went at it with Iceman. Now, Deadpool's mask gets ripped here, and then that's when you see Wade with his mouth sewn shut. Not again. We don't like seeing his mouth sewn shut. That's the opposite of what we want. Deadpool cuts his mouth open, and you think he's gonna be like, help me, I don't know what I'm doing. But he actually just releases a swarm of insects all over Iceman, winning that battle in a gross, itchy way. But don't worry, Deadpool gets bugged himself later on. He'll soon know what that feels like. I'll explain more of that later on in this list. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up on this video, that would be awesome. Those likes add up and they really do support us and the company. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Let's get right back to this Deadpool list. Number 8, Deadpool the Duck. Howard the Duck has been seen in both Guardians movies, and he was in Avengers Endgame. We see him gearing up alongside Earth's Mightiest. This dude has been in the same amount of MCU projects as Natalie Portman. Well, actually more, really, if you consider the main continuity. That's pretty insane. He's an important character. So when Deadpool the Duck came out back in 2017, fans were excited to see more of Howard. Howard's driving alone one night when Rocket crash lands into his car. Now he's about to congratulate Rocket on his recent box office success in Guardians, but he's rudely interrupted when the raccoon's eyes light up red and then he leaps at Howard. We got a classic case of space rabies. Some spazies. Some of them don't work. Luckily, this is Deadpool's story, so he comes in at just the right moment, and that's when him and Rocket start battling it out. Howard's trying to smooth things out while this is happening. He knows something's clearly off with Rocket. He's taking cover, he's just trying to stay out of the way. And then Deadpool shows back up in the middle of nowhere, questioning why he doesn't teleport more often, which is a great question. And then when he tries using it again, everybody gets fused together during this teleportation. Well, almost everybody.
Number 7, Daredevil 2099. This alternate version of Matt Murdock's character comes to us from one of the 2099 universes. Sam Fisk in the future is the heir to the Kingpin legacy, but finds himself struggling with guilt surrounding that legacy. To counterbalance all the bad his grandfather has wrought, Samuel Fisk decides to become the new Daredevil in the future, becoming our Daredevil 2099 over 2992. Kind of weird to think that in the great Marvel multiverse, there is a reality where it is Wilson Fisk's ancestor and not Matt's that becomes the new new Daredevil. But this weird fact is also what makes Samuel Fisk so interesting as DD as well. Number 6. Belasco. On Earth X, there are actually a few different versions of Daredevil. Most people probably think of the actual character who appears severely depressed and to kind of crave his own death, who goes by the name Daredevil, but there are actually a few others besides. One version is also an alternate of Nightcrawler, Kurt Wagner. This alternate version of the character ends up becoming Belasco, but later settles down in Hell's Kitchen, choosing to operate as a hero for a time and protecting that neighborhood. So he's literally a red devil of a demon man running around Hell's Kitchen, acting as its guardian. A pretty cool Earth 9997 visual reference or alternate to Earth 616's DD. Number 5. Exiles. The alternate Daredevil of Earth 181 is a version we see in the Exiles. Any reality where Daredevil serves the Kingpin to me is weird, which is why this version makes our cut. After serving on the Weapon X team at the behest of the Timebreakers, this version was held captive in a crystal palace, instead of being sent home as promised. However, when he did return home, we learned that Daredevil on Earth 181 is a brutalizer who works for the Kingpin and seems to genuinely enjoy violently attacking his targets. Number 4. 1602. The 1602 version of Matt Murdock is kinda weird in the sense that he became blind and received his powers from venturing into a cave and eating green, glowing goop that he found there. The whole point of this version of the story is to show how fearless of a character Matt was, but still, it's pretty weird, even given how fearless he was, that he'd ingest mysterious glowing green goo. That sounds like it could be slightly crossing the line from fearless to just plain stupid territory. Of course, sometimes those two traits do go hand in hand, so fair, I guess. Needless to say, it all worked out in the end, as that is where 1602's Matthew Murdock, also known as Sir Devil or the Bard, got his powers from. Oh yes, instead of living in his civilian life as a lawyer, Matthew here poses as a blind balladeer, a singer, but in secret operates as an expensive adventurer for hire or a bodyguard. Number 3. Kingpin. Never mind a reality where Daredevil works for Kingpin, how about a reality where Matt Murdock never becomes Daredevil and instead becomes a deadly assassin working for the Hand, who eventually rises in their ranks and, seeking more power, works for Kingpin, eventually taking the title for himself as he builds his own crime syndicate. That is exactly what happens on Earth 65, where Matt Murdock is more criminal than anything. He started out down the path of a hero, but after Stick, who took him under his wing, was killed, he fell into the hands, or hand really, of the Hand. This set him down a dark path towards villainy as he became more and more obsessed with power. Number 2. Earth 666. On Earth 666, Daredevil is a literal devil who dares to join the other undead heroes to assemble as the Avengers of the Undead. We don't know much about this alternate version as he's only made an appearance in a few issues, but we can assume his abilities are similar to his 616 counterpart, with one of the major differences from 616 DD being that he actually appears to be a real red devil with giant horns coming out of his head. You can catch this alternate version of the hero in the 2010 Secret Avengers series in issues 33 to 36. Number 1. Daredevil. He's a deer devil. Daredevil was only briefly mentioned by Peter Porker and hails from his reality of Earth 25. What's so strange about this alternate version of Matt? You guessed it, he's a deer, hence the name Daredevil. Daredevil's civilian name here is actually also different from the 616 counterpart, and it is Bat Burdock, and he made his first appearance in the Spider-Ham 25th anniversary special from June of 2010. Daredevil was one of the heroes who Peter Porker got to know along the way as he transitioned from just being a regular young pig to the hero Spider-Ham. As Peter Porker reminisces on his past, we see Daredevil's head among the other characters that Spider-Ham has encountered within his past.
Number 10. The New Red and Blue. Superman 162 was an imaginary tale where Superman splits himself into two parts to be more productive. Superman Red and Superman Blue. They were great, they both did a bang up job fixing up cities, saving the day. The love triangle that was happening in Superman comics was also fixed. Superman Blue married Lana, Superman Red married Lois, they did a joint wedding, it was all smiles. And then way later in 1992, 1998, we got to see another version of this story play out, only it wasn't as fun and carefree. Here, Superman lost some of his solar powers and instead developed energy-based ones. In order to contain said energy, Supes needed a new blue and white suit. Those new powers allowed for Superman to sense radioactivity, electricity, magnetic forces, and then he would absorb a lot of this power at the same time. When Cyborg Superman teamed up with Toyman, he split the new Supes into two and his personality was also separated. Blue Superman wanted to think things through, come up with a plan, whereas Red Superman, well, he was literally red hot. He wanted to take action. Both of these guys ended up loving Lois Lane, so there's no split wedding this time around. In fact, Lois got so sick of both of them, she kicked them out. Imagine saying no to two Supermen, you're like, no and no. Not you guys, get out of here. The guys then decided to have a race, because that's what mattered at that point. Sure. You know what does matter though? If you click those thumbs up. Yeah, those likes go a long way for the studio, and if you're not already subscribed, take off your jacket, stay a while. It's nice here, I promise. Number 9, Super Santa. He sees you when you're sleeping, and he has a quadruple barrel Gatling gun. How lovely. This 1995 Elseworld story puts Superman in a post-apocalyptic future where he has to go toe-to-toe with these crazy, mutated army of Batmen. The world is much darker than the one we know now. I mean, literally, these nuclear fallouts have left Superman without his UV rays. Good old lack of sunlight. No tans for you. So he hits the gym, updates his naughty list, and when the crazy gang called the DNA Dictators, with a K instead of a C, rob Bruce Wayne's grave and make a monster Batman, only one man can save us all. Super Santa. Number 8, Super Soldier. Coming from the Amalgam universe, first appearing in Marvel vs. DC issue 3, fans in the 90s got to see these two comic book powerhouses join forces, making these lovely mashups of characters from each universe, origin stories interconnected. It's a great time. In this story, Clark had no pre-existing powers until the Super Soldier Serum came along. We're seeing the two worlds already collide. He had pretty much won the war single-handedly back in 1942 after this, but then he came along Ultra Metello, this massive evil robot sent in, of course, by Lex Luthor. That's when Super Soldier sacrificed his life taking down the villain, and it wasn't until 50 years later that the JLA found his frozen body. But even then, 50 years later, Lex Luthor was still alive. He was keeping it young with some handy-dandy green K meteorite. That must be what Jennifer Aniston uses. Super Soldier ended up taking down Ultra Metello, and in turn, Lex was arrested. We love happy endings. No beards or Gatling guns this time around. We're on the right track. Number 7, Watari. First appearing in 5 Ronin issue 1 back in 2011, Watari is a completely different version of Wade. He's the Deadpool of Earth 11542, referred to in this universe simply as the Fool. The story takes place in 17th century Japan. Watari was one of the best and most dangerous samurai of that time, but like Deadpool of other universes, he was done dirty. He was betrayed by his own friends, he was ambushed by his allies, and then he was just left for death. He laid low for a bit, not by choice. I mean, his face was scarred up, he now had an alcohol problem. He hit rock bottom, but eventually he found his footing and got that long-awaited revenge. We see Watari the Fool make an appearance in Deadpool Kills Deadpool issue 4, alongside some other wacky versions which we can get into later on. Number 6, Dreadpool. In the reality of Earth 12101, the X-Men brought Wade to Dr. Den Brighton, aka Psycho Man, in an attempt to cure him. They wanted him to shut down the voices in Wade's head so he can be, you know, a normal civilian, but he didn't do that, did he? He actually did the opposite. Wade was now encouraged by all these voices in his head to kill the Marvel Universe. All those people, all those superheroes you love, about to meet their fate in a horrible way. He started off by going after the Fantastic Four. Reed and the Thing were gone in just a few pages, and then Sue Storm held Dreadpool off for a bit by making his head explode, which usually does a trick for most villains, but it's Deadpool, so once he healed, she was next to go. Like, the whole Fantastic Four family's gone in like literally 3 pages. It's so sad. Dreadpool then steals a device from Reed that he used to take down the Watcher. Even the Watcher isn't safe in this story, and neither are you. Check it out. Number 5, Evil Deadpool. Now, these names may start sounding a little bit confusing. Like, Dreadpool is an evil version that kills our heroes, and Evil Deadpool is the result of a collector with a gross hobby. That's right, Evil Deadpool is from the main 616 universe. He came to life in Deadpool Volume 4, Issue 44. Now, it all started with this young gal named Ella Whitby. She was a psychiatrist who was obsessed with Wade. She was so obsessed that she would keep body parts that he lost over time. He'd battle it out, lose an arm, she'd go in, carry it like Saving Private Ryan back to her house. Some of us had a rock collection, others collect kneecaps. That's fine, we're all different. So she would keep these parts in her freezer like a maniac right next to the jumbo freezies, and then when Deadpool found out about this horrible cold care package, he threw them all in a dumpster. This was actually the worst thing that Wade could have done, believe it or not, because once those body parts thawed out, they fused and grew back together to make this evil, much worse smelling Deadpool. Number 4. Headpool. Wade Wilson of Earth 2149 first appeared in Marvel Zombies issue 3. The merc with half a mouth was among the population that gets infected in Marvel's zombie run, but then when he's transported to the main 616 universe, he gets taken by armor, and that's when things start to get a little crazy for this guy. He ends up in Savage Land, and believe it or not, the other version that helps main 616 Deadpool assemble the core that I've been mentioning this entire list was this version. The guy with no body, just a head, is actually the perfect sidekick. Minus the non-stop talking, of course. Number 3. Deadpool Kid. The Wild Wild Wade. Okay, an instant classic. Deadpool of Earth 1108 made his first appearance in Deadpool Merc with a Mouth issue 7. When we meet him, he's wanted for bank robbery, arson, putting together a literal stampede, all that Wade goodness. It doesn't matter what timeline you catch him in, shenanigans are in order, clearly. This Deadpool would constantly talk about how much he wanted to take over the town. He had his sights set on Sheriff Fury and of course bounty hunter Logan. This version's quite interesting, but let's be honest, a little limiting what you can do in these dusty towns. So after our 616 Wade shot him in the head and left him for dead, it wasn't until Deadpool kills Deadpool that we see this cowboy again. There's not much you can do in the Wild Wild West. I mean, seeing Wade on a horse or, shooting up saloons, it's cool, but limiting. Number 2. Wolverinepool. First appearing in Cable and Deadpool issue 46, this Wade Wilson still gets the superhero upgrade, but when Weapon X decides to give him the adamantium treatment, things play out a little bit differently. See, later on, he's recruited by Dreadpool, that guy I mentioned, to take on the Deadpool core members, so he's evil. He was doing a pretty good job, that adamantium skeleton was coming in handy, but during a fight, our main 616 Deadpool tossed a grenade full of bugs at Wolverinepool. Remember I said you got some with bugs earlier? This is payback. This is why you don't play with bugs. So that bug grenade went off and the bugs ended up chewing Wade apart, and all that was left literally was just that adamantium skeleton and claws. It's a pretty creative way to go out, but it's also really gross. It's kind of like if Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas were to take you out, or if that movie was rated R, it would look kind of something like this. And finally, number 1. Death Mask. On Earth 11683, Reed Richards was able to remove that lethal brain tumor from Wade's head, which opened an entirely new future for Wade. Now he was better than ever. There were no evil voices swirling around in his head. In fact, the only voice in his head was his own bright ideas. This Wade was in fact a genius. This keeps getting more and more positive. That's great. We love happy endings. Nice number 1 smooth landing. Did he solve world hunger? Did he stop floods? Did he cure diseases? No, actually. He was still a criminal, a master criminal, actually. See, with that brain, he ended up building an empire and went by the name Death Mask, so it was actually almost worse in this scenario. Just looking at his outfit, it's pretty obvious whose spot he's taking in this universe. He killed Victor Von Doom and changed a few colors to his evil getup, resulting in Death Mask, this red version of Dr. Doom. Even after Death Mask was beaten by our main Deadpool, it still didn't end. Death Mask then made a deal with Mephisto in order to release these horrible monsters on Earth and survive. One of those monsters was the Infernal Hulk. So he's full of brilliant ideas, they're just also evil.
Number 10. Claw. Claw is actually an alternate persona of the Hulk that resides within the character in the reality of Earth 616. So not an alternate in terms of being from another world or reality, but still an alternate in terms of him being a very different version of the character than what we're used to seeing. Claw even looks very different to the Hulk. When it comes to the heroic version we're used to seeing and reading in the comics, Claw couldn't be more different. He is basically the polar opposite, being malicious, vicious, and evil-minded in nature and behavior. And if you're like, well, the Hulk is he can be pretty bad sometimes. He's got a heart of gold though, the Hulk. The Hulk's lovely. Number 9. Age of Apocalypse. In the reality of Earth 295, aka Age of Apocalypse, Bruce Banner never saved Rick Jones from the Gamma Bomb test in order to become the Hulk. Instead, he became the Thing as a result of experimenting on himself after Apocalypse had conquered the Earth. Banner with General Thaddeus Ross was part of humanity's last stand. He would end up betraying the Human High Council and Owlman pledge his loyalty to Mikhail in exchange for test subjects. Banner would then discover how to transform into the giant grey super strong beast known as the Thing, and would eventually kind of flip sides once more to protect the humans from a gamma bomb that he himself had designed. Following this, he would become green and end up as Apocalypse's captive. And friends, before we move on to the next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it, be sure to show us by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Starman. Starman is an alternate version of the Hulk who comes to us from the Marvel What If story from issue 91 of the second series. In this story, we get to see a version of the Hulk where it is the alternate monstrous persona known here as Starman that is actually the kind, gentle, heroic side of this character, and Bruce Banner himself, who is actually the true monster. He's the not so good side of the character, the villain side. Bruce Banner here is a colonel who is obsessed with his job developing weapons for the military. A lot of the rage that he lives with ends up being taken out on his wife and his romantic partner, Betty Ross, to the point that she tries to in fact get out of the relationship, talking to her father about it, but her father basically dismisses her pleas. In the end, Starman is unable to help Betty, who is committed to a mental health facility by Doc Samson, after Colonel Banner threatens him. Doc Samson was actually gonna try to help Betty, but it didn't work out. It's such a sad, awful story, but such a strange version of the Hulk as well. Starman.
Number 7. Boxer Superman. I feel like nowadays it's all about celebrity boxing matches. Every other weekend it's someone fighting Lil Baby or whatever, one Logan Paul brother is fighting a robot. This next one might be a thing that actually happens, who knows anymore. Coming from Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams back in 1978, part of the all-new Collector's Edition, basically this alien named Ratlar, who is part of a species known as the Scrub, visits Earth, and demands that we pick our best fighter to go against theirs. Ratlar woke up and chose violence. Okay, cool. So they picked their scrapper, and it of course was the ever so fearsome behemoth Hunya. Alright, great. Now if we refuse this after-school space fight, the Scrub will destroy our planet. So Muhammad Ali argues that since Superman technically isn't from Earth, he must be the one instead who fights. Guy's literally a champ. And he's absolutely correct, he has a point. Ratlar is actually amused by this, so he thinks, you know what, instead, why don't you both just fight each other? That ought to be entertaining, right? The fight is set to take place on Bodace, which is orbiting a red star, so it's actually a fair boxing match at this point. No powers for Clark. So Muhammad Ali trains Superman to become a professional boxer in just a few months' time. The fight is then broadcasted intergalactically, millions tune in, pay-per-view probably charged so much for the match, and then Superman gets beat by Muhammad Ali. How amazing is this? Not only that, Ali continues to take on the behemoth as well, knocking him down in the 4th round. He's the greatest in all of the cosmos, or as Muhammad Ali says, they're both the greatest. Okay, so sweet. Number 6. Super Ant-Man. Not from the Amalgam universe, but dangerously close to it. From Action Comics issue 296, called The Invasion of Ants, we see Superman rocking a different but nice look. So at first we see him and he's on the side of a building with an ant mask head on, and he's asking for other giant ants to follow him, even making buzz noises to furthermore convince the ants. Okay, what the hell's going on here? Well, after a colony of giant ants were mutated from a nuclear war on another planet, they decided to come check out Earth, as if we didn't have enough ants already. So Superman comes by to save the day, and he figures out that if he uses red kryptonite radiation, he can give himself an ant's head and then communicate with them. If this one isn't considered weird, well, maybe the next one will get you. Number 5. Centaur Superman. Superman Wonder Woman, Whom Gods Destroy, was an issue released back in 1996, and it's a 4-part Elseworlds miniseries that shows us a world where the Germans ended up winning World War II. It's an odd future, to say the least. Bruce Wayne is now the president, and once Cersei sends out her squad to kidnap Lana Lang, Clark and Lois then have to fly to Europe to save her. Clark didn't even use his powers either, he just booked a normal human Southwest flight. Gotta ride in style, I guess, no matter what the odds are. So during this flight, however, trouble came back around for them, and the plane went down over Germany. The goddess Athena then turned Lois into Wonder Woman, where she would then go toe-to-toe with the Diana, Wonder Woman, who in this story was on the bad side. And as for Clark, when the plane went down, Cersei turned him into a centaur. Just a handsome half-man, half-horse, noble steed. Now of course, looking the way he did, all these other ladies, Centaur ladies, were racing over to meet this dashing man. After they all introduce themselves to each other and shake hoofs, all that good stuff, they would then just raid towns and party hard. This is a horrible time for Lois, like she's fighting for her life, and Clark is just prancing around like he's on season 7 of Bachelor in Paradise. He's loving this. Number 4, Super Menace. Coming from Superman issue 137 titled The Super Brat from Krypton, surprise, Kal-El has a clone. So when Jor-El shot Kal-El into space after the destruction of Krypton, that ship ended up hitting a derelict space satellite and then he was duplicated. So the one craft was found by criminals named Derek and Bonnie, and they see this as a golden opportunity to raise another super sidekick, especially one with all the abilities that Clark has. Later on, a kryptonite meteor crashes into Earth and the criminal couple realizes that it doesn't affect the young clone. He grows up in secret, waiting to make his grand entrance as the Super Menace. First things first, let's take care of that other guy though, shall we? He fights the Superman, they fight, and when Superman uses his X-ray vision, he notices something is odd about his foe. And then suddenly, Super Menace makes it rain kryptonite meteors. This of course almost kills Superman until Super Menace decides, you know what, I don't want to be a Super Menace anymore. We love a good change of heart. He saves Superman, he handles his criminal parents, and then he flies off to return back to his natural state of energy and becomes one with the universe. Number 3, Karkan the Mighty. Coming from Superboy issue 183, Karkan was raised by gorillas, Karkan being Kal-El. His ship ended up landing in the jungles of Africa, and he realized that he's different from the others after he learns how to fly. It's basically Tarzan if he was Superman, hence why his name is a combination of both. This version is quite super, literally. I mean, when he's not swinging through vines and hucking his own poop at people, he's saving hundreds of animals from floods. How lovely. Even if it means carrying them by their ears, whatever it takes. He does try his luck in the big city though afterwards, but obviously being raised by gorillas, he had a tough time fitting in. Honestly, good. Fitting in is overrated anyways. If you want to do backflips in the jungle, just go for it. Number 2. Bizarro Superman. First appearing in Superboy issue 68, Bizarro Superman is, as his name suggests, bizarre. He's a man of steel but with the opposite intentions, and his powers are also opposites. Instead of breathing icy cold dad breath, he can now breathe fire, like a dragon. Now he has laser ice eyes too, it's pretty fun. The interactions with Superboy are fun. Bizarro Superman throws Clark across the deck of a pool, and he has to like fly his way casually and steer into the pool to blend in. It's honestly trouble. It's kind of like the Iron Giant, but like crazier? The new 52 version of Bizarro was created when Lex Luthor tried to clone Superman, and instead of waiting 10 years for the project to be completed, Lex released him after 5 years, so in turn now he has his pale, but still jacked look. We love Bizarro Superman, honestly. He's like a Frankenstein that can bench press 1,000 pounds. It's pretty fun. And finally, number 1. Lex L. Appearing only in Superman issues 230 and 231, we find Lex L born on the planet Krypton instead of Clark. So Superman, but bald. Super Caillou, basically. His hair loss at such a young age is actually explained in the comic because when he was really young, Lex L's father, Jor-El, held his head next to kryptonite as a punishment. So it's actually pretty tragic. When Lex and his father did crash land on Earth after fleeing their doomed planet, the rocket distracted Martha and Jonathan Kent, who were bank robbers in the story, and they couldn't see, so they ended up crashing. So that's Clark's life here. His parents died in that crash, and Lex L grew up to become Superman. It's a fun one-off story. We get to see Clark take out Jor-El and then go on a crime spree. Just a total flip in characteristics. Also, bonus points for Lex wearing a wig on his off time to hide his secret identity. Way more committed to the cause than Clark and his normal reading glasses. Kicking off the list at number 10, Grey Hulk. One of the more badass versions of the Hulk was also the earliest. See, originally Stan Lee wanted the Hulk to be gray, but ink problems made him green. The Incredible Hulk made his first smashing appearance in 1962 when a teenager, Rick Jones, was about to be caught up in a gamma bomb test. Scientist Bruce Banner ran out and threw him to safety, but in doing so he himself was caught in said explosion, and in turn he was irradiated with radioactive particles, becoming the Grey Hulk. Our green guy, the main 616 Hulk, is referred to as the Savage Hulk, and Grey Hulk is said to be weaker. They made him an entirely different version in the comics to help explain the color change. They were both fighting to control Bruce. Things get spicy during Peter David's run when we meet Joe Fixit, this mobster Grey Hulk working at a casino. Imagine this guy asking you for your ID. I would bring 5 pieces and a passport, just to be safe. So intimidating. And his hat too, like he looks friendly, but he also looks like when he shakes your hand, he's gonna break all your knuckles. Number 9. Skulk. Coming to life in Doctor Strange Fate issue 1 back in 1996, Marvel's Bruce Banner combined with DC's Solomon Grundy. How fun. Another gray version, but a little more out there this time around. Solomon appeared right before Bruce Banner was caught in that gamma bomb explosion, so now the two ended up fusing together, creating Skulk. Skulk was taught by Doctor Strange Fate that in order to remain in human form, you need the assistance of magic. Black Widow's palm dances will not work in this universe, my friend. So Banner was like, alright, I'll work for you, just make sure I don't become that awful pale monster. Deal? Deal. Great, awesome. Skulk's last comic was in Lobo the Duck issue 1 just a year later. He died in the destruction caused by the gold kidney lady. Yes, you heard me correctly. And before we list off some other fun versions of the Hulk, if you want to Skulk smash that like button, that would be lovely. Those clicks really do help us out a lot here. You all rock, now let's keep this list going. Number 8. Peter Parker. Looking now to the 2006 bullet point storyline, if you haven't already guessed from the title, this one's a superhero swap. We love those. Now this is a life where Uncle Ben, well, still died, but he died a lot earlier, so unfortunately he wasn't around to mentor Peter. Give him the whole with great power comes great responsibility rundown. So now Peter's stealing Jeeps, he's blasting Green Day and flipping off the elderly, just the complete opposite guy that we know and love. During the Jeep joyride, it ran out of gas, so Sneaky Pete went off to look for some more to help fill up. Now while he was searching, that's when he just happened to stumble across that gamma bomb test, and he didn't realize that he had this Hulk side to him until later on that night. His friends got in trouble, so they blamed Peter, and that's when he got really angry, and then he turned into the Hulk for the first time. It was nuts. Aunt May straight up had a heart attack. More than fair. After this point, retired Steve Rogers came back, suited up as Iron Man, and then began hunting him down. This universe is crazy. Peter Hulk killed Steve Rogers, and he didn't go down until Galactus arrived on Earth. Not a bad run.
Number 7. Hulkbot 3000. The Hulkbot 3000 was kind of a roundabout invention of Tony Stark's. He created the builder bot group known as the Smiths, which in turn made Hulkbot. Hulkbot 3000 was actually created to test a crown that could alter a person's behavior, which was actually created in the hopes of curing Tony's alcoholism. True story. Though he claimed the crown was being developed in order to help with the Hulk's often raging personality. What's really odd about Hulkbot though, other than the creation's purpose for existing, is that Hulkbot 3000 is only one of the many different robot versions of the Hulk to exist in the comics, and even in the 616 universe. Like, there have been a lot of Robo-Hulks. I could probably do a top 10 list on robot Hulks. Number 6. Breaker Apart. Also known as the Breaker of Worlds, this is a version of the Hulk belonging to an alternate future that doesn't yet have an official number, but was given the temporary reality number of Earth 781 for now. So we'll just have that number here because you never know, it could become official. He makes his first appearance in the Immortal Hulk series in issue 20, but wouldn't be given the name Breaker Apart until issue 25. In this alternate future, Hulk ends up surviving until the end of the universe due to his immortality. He ends up being possessed, however, by the One Below All and killing some of his universe's most powerful beings, including Galactus and Franklin Richards. Breaker Apart later garners the attention of the sentience of the universe, who looks to merge with him in order to create the beginning of a new universe or cosmos. This is probably also one of the most powerful alternate versions of the Hulk because he basically becomes like Galactus. Evil Galactus? Galactus already is pretty evil, I guess. Galactus to me is neutral. He's just hungry. He's cool. Number 5. Ruins. In the Ruins reality of Earth 9591, the Hulk isn't quite as fantastical or as fabulous as our 616 version of the characters. So fabulous. Runes is a series that allows us to get a glimpse of an alternate reality where superpowers are more like curses or death sentences, more realistic to how things might actually go for those who receive them in the real world, like the Hulk. Here, Bruce Banner does rush onto the Gamma Bomb test site in an attempt to protect Rick Jones, who wandered onto the testing grounds. However, he doesn't gain a giant, super strong and all green persona as a result. Instead, he becomes riddled with multiplying green tumors, which ultimately tear him apart from the inside out, mutating him into something much more horrific to behold. It's both weird and terrifying. Number 4. 1000 1,000 Hulks. What if there wasn't just one Hulk, but multiple Hulks? Hundreds of Hulks, if you will. That is a reality we explore in the alternate reality belonging to issue 71 of the second volume of What If. In that issue, we get to explore a world where gamma bombs end up being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and transforms hundreds of people. This actually gives the people of Japan a powerful army of Hulks, which allows them to conquer the US and rule over them for years. While one Hulk is already pretty strange, living in a reality where there are multiple Hulks who created a Hulk army seems even more bizarre by comparison. Number 3. Orange Hulk. Maybe one of the most random alternates out there. Orange Hulk hails from the reality of Age of Apocalypse. Unlike the other version we talked about way earlier on this list, Orange Hulk has no attachment to Bruce Banner, and as a matter of fact, we don't actually know who he really is under all that orange and all that Hulk. What we do know is that Orange Hulk is solar powered, gaining strength from the sun, and is in fact implied to be stronger during daylight hours because of this. Orange Hulk serves on Weapon Omega's Black Legion team, and honestly, every time I see him, he makes me want some Sunny D. That's not any kind of paid endorsement, to be clear, that's just the truth. Also, I just really like Sunny D. Number 2. Groovy Hulk. Groovy Hulk is the nickname for the alternate version of the Hulk that we get from the original What If series. In issue 12 of the series, we get to discover what the world would be like had Rick Jones become the Hulk instead of Bruce Banner, with Rick Jones throwing Banner into the trench at the last second instead of the other way around, taking the full brunt of the gamma radiation himself. Oh no, Rick Jones! Rick's version of the Hulk had a notably cooler way of speaking, being heavily influenced by the groovy slang of the 60s. I suppose because Rick was a young and hip teenager, so that's how he talks instead of the other way that the Hulk talks. And that's not even the weirdest part about this whole story. It also comes with a convenient ending where Bruce Banner finds a way to fix Rick, causing him and the Hulk to split. Hulk is stuck in the negative zone but finds happiness and a girlfriend randomly there, becoming their champion, while Captain Marvel is also affected by Banner's cure for Rick, being tied to him as well. The treatment also happens to cure Marvel's cancer. Gotta love a weird cure-all happy ending. Number 1. The Hulk Dogs. What is weirder than 1,000 Hulks? How about a few doggo Hulks? That's right, I did not forget about 2003 Hulk. In that film, there were 3 dog versions of the Hulk, each dog a member of a different breed, that were made by David Banner, Bruce's father. One of them is a poodle. Just remember that. David planned to use the dogs to track down and kill Betty Ross. This of course put them into direct conflict with the Hulk himself, who is forced to fight all 3 dogs, who honestly kinda almost succeed in defeating him at one point and getting to Betty. Of course, in the end, Hulk saves Betty and ends up winning. I'm just thinking of how Betty's like, what do I do? Do I go? Do I stay? There's so many shots of her just in the car like, the dogs are still here. It kills me. Okay, anyways. Oh, 2003 Hulk. Of course, in the end, Hulk saves Betty and ends up winning out against all 3 Hulk doggos. Poor Hulk dogs. They didn't deserve that.
Kicking off the list at number 10, the Devastator. There's a name right there, okay. Bruce Wayne of Earth 1 made his first appearance in Dark Days, the casting. This Batman is one of Barbados' Dark Knights. Now, he started out the usual Batman way, lost his parents, became Batman, hung out with the Justice League. He actually got along with Superman quite well. He genuinely believed in his ideals of hope. But it is Batman we're talking about. Just because he trusted him doesn't mean he wasn't always prepared. Bruce kept the Doomsday virus just in case. So when Superman did go on and become a little crazy and started killing people, Batman figured, okay, now is the time to use this thing. Bruce first used a kryptonite spear to try and do the trick, but Superman just monologued in his face. Nothing was working. So now it's Doomsday time. The Devastator was born. The virus changed Batman instantly, physically of course, but also mentally. Now he had no problem killing what used to be one of his best friends. Using kryptonite breath, Bruce weakened the god and then finished him with some Doomsday spikes. Nice dark note to start the list off. There we go. Number 9. Multiverse Batbaby. In part 1 of this list, we of course had to mention the time Batman was shrunk down to the size of a baby, so naturally in part 2, we need more baby goodness. Dark Knight's Death Metal Legends of the Dark Knights issue 1. Bruce has a plan. Now this version was planning on living a second lifetime. More crimes to solve, more risks to break, more bills to pay. The man is committed. Now he had already taken down the Joker, Riddler, Two-Face, and Scarecrow at this time, but he wanted more. After his passing, his mind was safely stored in the cyberspace, and it was then transferred into this new body waiting in the Batcave. This time seems way harder for Bruce. See, in the early issues, he just made little trousers and still continued to fight crime. It was fun, it was almost cute. Here, he was rolling downstairs. He couldn't even walk. He probably his pants, and then he just lays down and cries for the rest of the day. The best part is that he has the mind of Bruce still, so those tears just aren't baby tears. That's pure agony. Now he finally figured out, how to use his legs in life. He gets the jetpack to make up for those tiny legs, and he still goes on saving the day as the guardian of Gotham. And before we continue on with this weird list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up, that would be awesome. It helps us out so much. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get back to the video. Also, thank you for 1.1 million subscribers. That's huge. That was a nice thing to wake up to. Number 8, Red Sun Batman. Superman Red Sun was released in 2003. It earned Mark Millar an Eisner Award nomination in 2004, but he always wondered what life would be like if Superman was raised in the Soviet Union. What a fun idea. So in this story, the ship lands on a Ukrainian collective farm instead of Texas, and as for Bruce Wayne in this reality, well, his parents still end up biting the bullet, but this time it's by Stalin's police force. So his main goal was to get back at that captain of said police force, Roslov. This version of Batman, just look at the attire. How do you not love him off the bat? He kidnapped Wonder Woman, tied her up with her own lasso, rude, and then used her to draw Red Sun Superman out. And of course, it worked like a charm. Using simulated red sunlight, he weakened Superman, locked him in a basement, ideally forever, but Wonder Woman broke free, took care of those red sun lamps, and right before Batman was about to get the beatdown of his life, he detonated a bomb in his own chest. Honestly, I think Red Sun Superman would still be a lot more painful than a chest bomb. Still dark either way. Number 7, Ultimate Hulk. This version of Bruce is quite troubled. He was taught to just stay out of his parents' way growing up, and he also hated himself pretty much. He wanted to be ripped like Captain America, he didn't like his noodle arms. It was a rough go for him in the Ultimate Universe. So when Nick Fury got together the brightest minds to recreate the Super Soldier Serum, Envious Banner was on that team. He did figure it out, or so he thought, but he kept the info to himself. He didn't want any other scientist getting credit. But he took it a little bit too far when he also decided to keep the human testing process to himself as well. He injected himself and became Ultimate Hulk. The first time he changed, he injured Mary and Richard Parker, but down the road he injected himself again, but this time he mixed Super Soldier Serum with Hulk Serum, and then he turned to gray, and his first plan of attack was, of course, as you would think, to fight Freddie Prinze Jr. Yeah. Number 6, Infernal Hulk. First appearing in Deadpool Annual 1, this version picks up after Bruce Banner became the Sorcerer Supreme, and his first trick was to separate the Hulk from himself and just banish him as far away as possible. And what better place to throw him than the pits of hell? While in the land down under, Hulk became Infernal Hulk. A little more scary looking than Joe Fixit, just a little bit. So when our 616 banner arrived to this universe with Spider-Man, Infernal Hulk traded places in hell with the other Bruce's Hulk persona. So now that Infernal Hulk is free and he's going back after Banner. He's pissed. So Deadpool, Spidey, and Supreme Banner, they all figured, okay, let's just reverse this banishing spell, and then as soon as Banner shows back up, we break his neck. Alright, go team, let's do it. Number 5, Hulk 2099. John Eisenhart this time around made his first appearance in 2099 Unlimited issue 1 back in 1993. This is the future, of course, one of many alternate Marvel futures where heroes are simply no more. But fear not, as we still have cults. Thank God, you gotta have those cults. One cult called the Knights of Banner was piquing the interest of Eisenhart, but at this point, he was this LA movie studio guy and he wanted to make a movie about these knights or this Hulk cult or whatever. They're pretty much us in the future. They worship the Hulk, they have meetings, they talk about him, they probably create top 10 lists, I don't know. But when they turned down the money and said beat it, Eisenhart wasn't happy. So he tricked one of the young members, Gawain, into spilling the beans about the cult and how they're performing illegal gamma experiments. Gawain is actually a reference to Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, an Arthurian story that combined the beheading game and the exchange of winnings. And that's exactly what happened here. John reported this cult and its new secrets, and the police raided and killed everybody. all but Gawain. So John tried to fix what he'd caused, but it was far too late. After a gamma bomb went off, he was turned into the 2099 Hulk. Consumed now with guilt as well, he vowed to protect the young knight, and when Draco killed Gawain, spoilers, he figured he would just defend the people from future threats. Number 4. Compound Hulk. First appearing in Hulk Volume 2, Issue 30, Clue is a smarter version of that Grey Hulk that I mentioned earlier in this list. He's an advanced clone, rather, created by Xemnu. Now, Clue was the result of a cloning gone wrong, classic, and then when Clue and Xemnu were fighting Red Hulk, Impossible Man came in, he was watching the whole thing, and he used his powers to merge both of those guys into the compound Clue. He didn't last long at all, but anytime the words merge and Hulk are in play, it's bound to get weird. Number 3. Venom Hulk. Venom Hulk is as terrifying as you think. It all goes down in What If Issue 4. It shows us what would happen if the alien costume had possessed Spider-Man. So if the Fantastic Four hadn't have been able to separate Peter and the suit initially. It's a fun little alternative. It gets pretty ugly quickly, and the other Avengers are called upon to try and stop Peter from causing more irreversible damage. Doctor Strange is hurling spells at him for hours, still it's no use. And you'd think when the Hulk came along, he could just, huck Peter into a few walls until he calms down. But he arrives, and the symbiote sees his power, and he's like, that looks pretty good, I want that, give me. And then when it comes into contact with the Hulk, this nightmare is born. When Thor comes in to hopefully try and end this disaster of a situation, he too is consumed by the symbiote. I really hope we get to see some sort of evil version of the Hulk in this What If Disney show. I mean, Venom Hulk would be amazing. I would love to see this issue on TV. Might be a little long shot, but maybe Grey Hulk, perhaps. I don't know. Some sort of evil Hulk is coming, I feel it. Number 2. Lizard Hulk. Still green this time around, just a little more wet and scaly. He comes from Earth 19919. Robert Banner, of course, has a similar origin as the Hulk that we're now familiar with, only he was infected by the Spider Virus in Spider Island Issue 1. So a little more this time around. Now he's got extra arms and he's even more powerful. Just what you want. The Spider Queen at this point is standing tall over Manhattan, with the residents of New York City turning into spiders, which I gotta say, worst thing I've ever heard. I feel itchy just reading that. And as for our heroes, it's probably best if they switch to a different animal's DNA to avoid the whole mind control Spider Queen awful situation. So Captain America gets a hairy upgrade, and the Hulk gets paired with some lizard DNA, resulting in a weird but exciting storyline. Major Godzilla vibes over here. And finally, number 1, you guessed it, Old Man Logan. Remember that time that the Hulk was a landlord and had Hulklings with his cousin Jen Walters? Let's talk about it. Old Man Logan is an absolute masterpiece, first of all. Created by Mark Miller and Steve McNiven, we get to see a dark future where supervillains have taken over the United States. Bruce Banner ended up taking over California from Abomination and appropriately named it Hulkland. An atomic bomb over California changed Bruce up, he charged him, and now he wasn't this quirky scientist that you know and love. Now he's kind of a dick. Hulk Gang is also a treat. We have in total Bobby Joe, Charlie, Otis, Rufus, Bo, Elrod, Eustace, and of course Woody. Good old Woody Banner, what a gem. They come knocking on your door when you don't pay rent. Yeah, and you thought your landlord sucked. Think again. They're honestly evil, like they're literally evil. They killed Logan's family because they felt like it. They were bored. They whip around in style with the Fantastic Car, and then when Logan returned from his road trip with Hawkeye, well, he was a little upset to say the least. The only survivor once Logan was done with them was Billy Bob Banner. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have the Murder Machine. Great name. In part 2 of this list, we mentioned the Devastator, so this time we figured we had to include Murder Machine as well. Bruce Wayne, coming from the dark multiverse, Earth 44, had the same origin with the parents getting popped and all that stuff. He became Batman, he joined the Justice League, but then when Alfred was suddenly killed in the Batcave by some goons, Bruce feels responsible. He watches the footage over and over and over again. It's haunting him. So at Alfred's funeral, Bruce asks Cyborg if he can help him create an AI Alfred. You know, to help around the house, set reminders, lock the doors, all that good stuff. Cyborg agrees and Alfred protocol is underway. Its job was to assist and protect Bruce no matter what. And he was built as a hologram, so he can use weapons and move stuff around. What could possibly go wrong? Day 1, this thing was already spreading itself around, building new bodies, and then it started to take out every criminal in Arkham Asylum. Because they were deemed as threats, of course, so Batman had to adjust a few things, rightfully so. He wanted to allow AI Alfred to have access to the Batcave system, even though Cyborg was like, hey man, that's probably a terrible idea, but you're gonna do it anyways because you're Bruce Wayne. And he did. The AI first went after Bruce's mind because he didn't trust Bruce to keep himself safe. That's so meta. Then he took away Bruce's emotion, strapped him with some advanced tech, and once everybody was deemed a threat to Batman in some way, shape, or form, chaos erupted. A lot of death. Number 9. The Bruce. Coming from the Batman I Joker storyline from the late 90s, this Batman is known simply as the Bruce, which has a nice little ring to it. I say it like that, the Bruce. Once a year, the Bruce puts on a hunt. The citizens are now allowed to fight and challenge him for the throne. It's called the Night of Blood. Great name. But they also have to fight Batman's villains first, the surgically altered and reprogrammed versions, of course. The Bruce controls them all though, that's the messed up part. He just likes this gladiator, Halloween style night. He just likes violence. Luckily, and I can't believe I'm saying this, luckily a descendant of the Joker came in and put a stop to the Bruce. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, somewhere in that area, that would be great. It really helps our channel out quite a bit. You guys are the best. Thank you for your constant support. Let's keep going. Number 8, Digital Justice Batman. James Gordon II is the grandson, of course, of the Jim Gordon, and after the death of his partner Lena Schwartz, he sees some old newspaper clippings about the Batman, and he feels inspired. He feels like going through his grandfather's stuff. He's learning more, he's grieving, and then that's when he discovers that Gordon left him the Batsuit as well. Bruce Wayne's old Batsuit. How lovely. You should probably wash it twice though, just to be safe, you know? So James took over as the Batman with NetWiz Bobby Chang joining as his sidekick Robin. The two of them were recruited by the Batcom, which was a program set up specifically for this by the original Batman, in order to pass along equipment and tech and all that good stuff. This is a complex online future world that we're now looking at, of course ruled by the digital Joker virus. And I thought that paperclip guy was annoying. Imagine this dude. Jeez. Number 7, Magic Batman. Superman Batman Sorcerer Kings is a 4-parter written by Cullen Bunn, beginning with Superman Batman issue 81. On the cover we see Batman's tool belt, but this time it's made of elixirs and potions. What's the deal here? So after witches and warlocks tried to sacrifice our sun, things went south and now every electronic was literally vaporized. That means no more TikTok, sorry. The future was looking quite grim. To see Batman punch warlocks and witches in the mouth, I mean at one point he says, no more hocus pocus. In part 2, Bruce pulls out a whistle, obviously he gets mocked, and then when the Batwing arrives, it's more than useful. The Batwing being a magical dragon, of course. Number 6, Emo Batman. Back in 1999, we got to see one of the moodiest versions of Bruce Wayne. Coming from Elseworld's 80-page giant, he was one of the members of the group The Pennyworths, who was discovered and signed by Lex Luthor. This sounds funny considering the Batman we know and love, but it's still really sad. For example, Lex didn't care about the well-being of who he signed as long as they're making that moolah. And on top of that, Bruce was struggling with substance abuse problems and his last album bombed. It didn't even go gold. How sad is that? So soon after, Lex sold his record label to Darkseid Incorporated. Imagine watching Battle of the Bands and emo Bruce Wayne starts setting up shop. What a dream show. Number 5, Prohibition Batman. This alternate version of Batman first appeared in Batman Scar of the Bat, but this time it was Elliot Ness. Elliot was a federal agent, and instead of going toe-to-toe with the Joker, Elliot is now trying to bring down Al Capone. Now, of course, this takes place during the Prohibition era in Chicago, and Elliot was part of a team referred to as the Untouchables. I love this alternate version because it's real history that's being played with. Elliot Ness was a real guy who led the Untouchables in 1903. The story is a fun one-off, but Elliot does reappear later on in Teen Titans Volume 3, Issue 31. It's a brief appearance, but he's still out there. I wonder if real-life Elliot Ness ever read DC Comics back in those early days. Him and his Tommy gun reading Batman in a speakeasy? I can see it. Number 4, Batman the Silenced. The original Hush storyline by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee introduces Bruce's childhood friend, Thomas Elliot. Out of jealousy, he tries to take down Batman using the alias Hush, but in Tales from the Dark Multiverse Batman Hush, we see a different life play out this time. When Thomas and Martha Wayne were shot that fateful night, Bruce was of course devastated, but Alfred didn't end up taking him in like normal continuity. Instead, he was taken in by those Elliots. Bruce didn't work through his trauma by fighting crime and saving lives. Instead, he grew more and more unstable from his childhood, so much so that the Elliots transferred him to a mental asylum, while Thomas Elliot grew up to take control over Wayne Industries. Horrible, what a horrible alternate reality. So once Tommy became a senator, he was able to transfer Bruce to Arkham Asylum, where Jonathan Crane would perform these operations. While in there, Alfred sent in Jack Napier as a mole to help Bruce, and Alfred also told Bruce about his parents and what really happened. So Jack was in there to help Bruce get in touch with people who can help him get payback. So he received training in every field from lunatics in Arkham Asylum. He came out talented but tainted after faking his own death. Once free, he went by the name of Batman the Silenced. Number 3. Saint Batman. We'll ride the dark multiverse train out a little more, taking a look now at Jean-Paul Valley. The original story took place when Batman got his back by Bane in 1993. Azreel took over for the Bat while Bruce healed up, and then things went back to normal over time. In Tales from the Dark Multiverse Batman Nightfall, we see a world where Jean-Paul Valley refused to give the cape back. They went at it at the Batcave, and instead of Bruce reclaiming the costume, he got a devastating hit to the spine. And to make matters even worse, Saint Batman kept Bruce alive, just, without any body parts, of course. His physical strength is unmatched. This Batman juices. He uses venom in his suit, so he operates at a superhuman level. The ultimate backbreaker this time. Number 2. Speeding Bullets Batman. This Elseworld storyline shows us a future where Kal-El landed in Gotham and was subsequently adopted by the other Martha Wayne. The Waynes did end up meeting their fate, regardless of the fact that their newly adopted son has laser vision. He didn't realize at the time that he could fire heat rays until right after they had died. I mean, that's fair, trauma does things to the body. After this point, Super Bruce wasn't the same at all. He had the powers of a god, but the hatred of the devil. He was a conflicted man. He would repeat the line, the bullets, the bullets, the bullets, over and over again. He was mentally unstable, obviously. So he hid from the world in his mansion of solitude, and over time, Bruce decided that he should use his powers and just be a hero, instead of hiding. Taking up the identity of the Batman, he would patrol the streets looking for crime, but like I said, he was still a troubled guy. His version of saving the day was burning the flesh off of criminals. Number 1. Thomas Wayne. Coming from the Flashpoint storyline released in 2011, writer Jeff Johns and Andy Kubert brought us Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, when he was actually the one to become Batman. See, in this universe, Bruce Wayne was actually the one who got shot that night in the alley. The world of Flashpoint is this altered reality that Barry accidentally ends up in, where Thomas is older, more brutal, and he's like this evil, dark Batman. And Bruce's mother, Martha, becomes so traumatized by what happens to her son that in this reality she becomes the Joker. So this Batman is very okay with using guns. In fact, he actually prefers it.